The story of universe and rise of humanity. The beginning of everything. In the beginning there was nothing. No star, no space, no time. Then from a single tiny point, smaller than atoms, everything began. From that point, all energy, matter, and all the law of physics themselves were born. This was the moment the universe began. Billions of years later, in 1894, a Belgian clergyman, scientist, and a physician named Georges Lemaire was born. In 1927, through calculation and careful observation, he proposed something revolutionary. The universe was expanding. He reasoned that if the expansion were reversed, everything must have once have been concentrated into a single, incredibly dense point. From that point, an enormous explosion must have happened. The moment the universe was born. At first, people laughed at this idea. Media mocked it, called it the beginning bang. The name later became the most famous things on our planet, Big Bang. Just 2 years later, in 1929, an American astronomer named Edwin Hubble confirmed Lemaire's theory. He discovered that galaxies were moving away from each other, proved that the universe really was expanding. Today, modern science tells us that this expansion began about 13.8 billion years ago. The birth of stars and galaxies. After the Big Bang, the universe was hot, swelling cloud of dust, energy, and tiny particles. It took about 380,000 years for it to cool down, enough to form a first atoms, mostly hydrogen. Over time, gravity pulled these atoms together and created the first star and forming the first galaxies. Today, scientists estimate there are more than 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. Each galaxy contains hundreds of billions of stars. Many of those stars have planets like our own planet Earth. Our own Milky Way galaxy formed about 13.6 billion years ago. It is so vast that traveling from one side to the other will take 100,000 light years. The next closest galaxy, Andromeda, lies about 2 million light years away. A light year is the distance that light travels in 1 year. Light moves about 300,000 kilometers per second, fast enough to circle Earth 7.5 times in 1 second. These distances are so great that they are almost impossible to imagine. The birth of the solar system and Earth. Around 4.6 billion years ago, our solar system was born. It formed from massive cloud of gas, dust, and rock, all pulled together by gravity. As this material joined together, the sun formed at its center, and around it 8 planets, including our Earth. Not long after, a massive collision with another young planet created our moon. This same impact also gave Earth its tilt, which still produces our season today. When we look at the stars, we are looking into the past. Light from sun takes about 8.5 minutes to reach us. That means if the sun stops shining right now, we wouldn't notice until 8.5 minutes later. The star we see in the night sky may have already died millions of years ago, their lights still traveling through the space to reach us. What we see in the sky is always something that has already happened. With new technology like the James Webb Space Telescope, we can now look deeper into space than ever before and see further back in time, closer to the very beginning of the universe itself. The origin of life. Life on Earth began about 3.8 billion years ago, starting as simple single-celled organisms. Around 3.5 billion years ago, these tiny cells multiplied and evolved, becoming the ancestor of every living thing on Earth today. After about 2 billion years, two different kinds of cells joined together by accident, forming more complex life. That single event eventually led to a diversity of the life on Earth, what we see today. Around 550 million years ago, one of our ancient ancestors was a small sea worm, only about 7.5 centimeters long. It had no arm, no eyes, no brain, making survival extremely difficult. By 522 million years ago, some skin cells evolved into a light-sensitive spots. The very first primitive eyes. A million years later, 521 million years ago, a few nerve cells formed behind these eyes and created a very tiny first simple brain. These early brains would one day evolve into a most complex organ in the known Earth, the human brain. From sea to land. Over time, some early sea creature evolved into a fish with jaws and strong bodies. About 375 million years ago, we became a 30-centimeter fish with teeth, jaws, and a strong mouth. And chance of survival was quite strong, until we saw massive sea creatures which made our life pretty dangerous. And survival became very, very hard. So we had no choice until going to shallow waters. And shallow waters had less oxygen, massive amount of carbon monoxide, and life became very difficult. And extinction became close to us. To survive, evolution gave us lungs growing next to our gills, allowing us to breathe air above water. Finally, around 365 million years ago, we merged onto land. Our gills disappeared, marking the beginning of amphibians. A trace of this ancient dual breathing system still exists with us today. Our hiccup reflex is left over from that time. Over millions of years, amphibians evolved tougher skin and harder shell eggs to survive on land. This change also introduced internal fertilization, an important step in the evolution of reptiles. Mass extinctions and new life. About 250 million years ago, massive volcanic eruption in Siberia targeted Earth's greatest extinctions event. 95% of the species were wiped out. But from a few survival, life began again. Around 230 million years ago, dinosaurs appeared. We were four-legged creatures, around 40 centimeters long at first, with a small brain, but a great ability to adapt. Living among dinosaurs was difficult. To survive, our tiny ancestors had to grow smarter, faster, and more resourceful. Producing eggs as usual for survival was impossible. So it was in that time that the first mammal appeared, the ancestors of more than 4,000 mammals species living today. For 165 million years, dinosaurs ruled the earth, forcing mammals to remain small and adaptive. Then, about 65 million years ago, a giant asteroid struck near what we know today is Mexico. The sky darkened, temperature dropped, the majority of life on Earth vanished, including dinosaurs. Mammals diversified and evolved to a tiny creature to fill the empty world the dinosaur left behind. And we went under the surface of the earth and survived on insects. The rise of humanity. Around 4.4 million years ago, one of our early ancestors began to walk upright. Standing only 1.2 meters tall, with a brain size of an orange, they took the first step towards becoming human. Over millions of years, our bodies and brains grow stronger and more capable. By 2.3 million years ago, Homo habilis, the first true human species, appeared in East Africa, known as the tool maker. They crafted simple stone tools to survive. The mastery of fire changed everything. Fire became the best tools of survival. Because of that, we came out of cave, we climbed down from the trees, and started our traveling because it made it so much safer. Other than safety, offered us warmth and cooked food, which gave us more energy and helped our brain to grow larger. Over time, more than 20 different human species evolved. Among them were the Neanderthals. They lived 400,000 years ago to 40,000 years ago. They were intelligent, strong, and had very large brain. Our own species, Homo sapiens, appeared around 300,000 years ago, living with Neanderthal for thousands of years. Modern genetic scientists found out, November 2024, that we owe our survival to Neanderthals. Show the human and Neanderthals interbred, and some of their gen helped our ancestors survive harsh climate and deadly diseases. Eventually, Homo sapiens became the only surviving human species, spreading across the globe. Arrived in Asia between 125,000 to 70,000 years ago, Europe around 40 to 47,000 years ago, and much later in America approximately 15 to 30,000 years ago. But despite our intelligence, humans remain physically fragile. Childbirth is difficult because of our narrow pelvis. Our young are helpless for years, and our brain takes 25 years to fully mature. We are one of the most dependent species on Earth, and yet one of the most extraordinary. Evolution, progress, and the future. When Charles Darwin described evolution, he revolved that all life adapts and survives through gradual change. A process stretching back not just to monkeys and humans, but to very first living cell, which was 3.8 billion years ago. Human shares 99% of their DNA, or rDNA, with chimpanzees. But that tiny 1% difference has shaped everything: our language, our art, science, and our technology. From industrial revolution to the digital age, humanity has accelerated evolution through innovation. Now we stand at the dawn of a new era, the age of artificial intelligence and quantum computing. Thinking, creating, and living is transforming faster than ever before. Even our bodies are changing, providing the evolution continues. The story of universe and the story of humanity is still being written. From a single point of energy to intelligent being capable of reflecting on our own origins. We are product of billions of years of cosmic and biological evolution. Our journey is far from over. This is Daryush Pur Rahimi, and thanks for watching this program.